Hello, good morning, everyone. And this is again Teacher Anna, your learning partner. So, now let's learn our next lesson. Which is the elements of the different genres. So, in the last few weeks, we have learned about understanding conventions of traditional genre in fiction, drama, and poetry. And we have reviewed about Tungkong Langit and Alonsina. Now, let's go to the next one, which is the elements of the different genres. So I hope you have read your modules in advance. So open your modules in page 11. So this is about elements of different genres. So this is prepared by yours truly. So our expected outcome for this lesson, or at the end of the unit, you are expected to peer edit each other's draft based on the clarity of idea and choice and use of element. Then revise the written piece using literary conventions of fiction and drama. So now let's go to the key concepts. So literature is divided into two general types. We have poetry and prose. So the two general differ in form. The former being in stanza form, okay, so poetry is in stanza form, and the latter being in paragraph form, so that is the prose. So another difference is that poetry basically has rhyme. So, rhythm and measure. So, yung poetry, meron siyang rhyme, rhythm, and measure. The three of which poetry lacks. Moreover, what makes poetry distinct from prose is that poems are generally written figuratively, while prose works are principally written literally. So, most likely, si poems daw is written figuratively, meaning kung anong nasa words doon, maybe it is not the real meaning of that words. So just like reading between the lines. Okay? So while prose, so what is being written there, it means, or it really means what it really literally means. Now let's go to the next one. So we have here the types of genre. So there are 5 genres in literature, so which include poetry. So when we say poetry, poetry is the first major literary genre. All types of poetry share specific characteristics. In fact, poetry is a form of text that follows a meter and rhythm with each line and syllable. It is further subdivided into different genres such as an epic poem, narrative, romantic, dramatic, and lyric. Dramatic poetry includes melodrama, tragedy, comedy, while other forms include ode, sonnet, elegy, ballad, song, and epic. So these are all poetry. Okay? So it can be epic poem, it can be a narrative, a romantic, a dramatic, lyric. Dramatic poetry includes melodrama, tragedy, comedy, and other forms. So we also have ode, sonnet, elegy, ballad, song, and epic are all poetry. So let's try to know more about the example of poetry. So we have here the uh, example of poetry or epic poems include Paradise Lost by Jan Melton, The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. Examples of romantic poems include Red Red Rose by Robert Burns. All less poetic forms share specific features, such as they do not follow paragraphs or sentences. They use stanzas and lines instead. Okay? So some forms follow very strict rules of length and number of stanzas and lines, such as the villain, eel, sonnet, and haiku. So those are the examples of poetry. So here in page number 12, we have here the example of poetry, a red, red rose. A red, red rose. So you will read that, and then uh, you will also have an activity about a red, red rose by uh, Robert Burns. Now let's go to prose. So what comes in your mind when you talk about prose? So prose means, or this type of written text is different from poetry. Yeah, this is really different from poetry. Yeah, so prose is different from poetry. So this type of written text is different from poetry. Unlike poetry, prose focuses on characters and plot. So rather than focusing on sounds, so it includes short stories and novels, while fiction and nonfictions are its subgenres. Prose is further categorized into essays, speeches, sermons, interpretation. So examples of prose can be short stories and novels. We also have fiction and nonfiction as are its subgenres. So we also have essays, speeches, sermons, and interpretations. So now let's go to drama. So this is very exciting. What comes in your mind when you hear the word drama? So drama is a specific mode of fiction represented in performance. It can be a play, opera, mime, ballet, performed in a theater or on a radio or television. That is a drama. Yeah, so we also have fiction. So what comes in your mind when you hear the word fiction? So when we say fiction, fiction has three categories, so that are realistic, non-realistic, and semi-fiction. So usually, fiction work is not real. Okay? So katang-isip lang si fiction. So, and therefore, authors can use complex figurative language to touch readers' imagination. Unlike poetry, it is more structured, follows proper grammatical pattern and correct mechanics. A fictional work may incorporate fantastic and imaginary ideas from everyday life. It comprises some important elements such as plot, exposition, foreshadowing, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Popular examples of literary fiction includes James Joyce's novel A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, and then Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. We also have Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and then Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. So these are all an example of fiction. So you can also read the summary of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee mm, in your copy or your manuscript that is in page 15, or you can also read this in your book if you have a book that is To Kill a Mockingbird. So we also have nonfiction. So maybe a lot of you really loves real life story. So like here comes nonfiction. So when we say nonfiction, is a vast category that also have subgenre. So, ito din, malawak din yung categories niya. And it also has subgenres. It could be creative, like a personal essay, or factual, like a scientific paper. It may also use figurative language, however, not unlike poetry or fiction has. So, sometimes see, nonfiction may tell a story, so just like an autobiography, sometimes it may convey information to readers. Examples of nonfiction include biographies, diaries, memoirs, journals, fantasies, mysteries, and romances. A popular example of nonfiction genre is Michael Pollan's highly celebrated book. This is the Omnivore's Dilemma, a natural history of four meals, which is an account of eating habits of Americans. So, ito yung eating habits of Americans. Yun yung The Omnivore's Dilemma Readers by Michael Pollan. So, this is an example of nonfiction. Okay, you can also read this in your copy here in page number 17 to 18. And you can also read the autobiography of Michael Pollan. Okay, so it looks like Michael Pollan grew up in a Long Island, New York, which is born in 1955. He was educated at Bennington College, Oxford University, and Columbia University, from which he received a master's degree in English, a former executive editor of Harper's Magazine. He is currently the John S. and the James L. Knight Professor of Journalism at the University of California at Berkeley. His essays have been widely anthologized, and he is a regular contributor to the New York Times Magazine. He's the author of five books, including A Place of My Own, Second Nature and the Botany of Desire, A Plant's Eye View of the World, The Omnivore's Dilemma, A Natural History of Four Meals. Was named one of the 10 best books of 2006 by the New York Times and the Washington Post. So Michael Pollan lives in a Bay Area with his wife, the painter Judith Bilzer, and their son Isaac. So this is about Michael Pollan. So that is the autobiography of Michael Pollan, which is also an example of nonfiction. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's clear this one. Okay, parang ayaw na niyang gumalaw. Okay, there you go. So let's go to the elements of poetry. So as you all know, poetry is a really vast, and there are a lot of subgenres for poetry. So for its elements, we have measure, vertical measure, and horizontal measure. So what is measure? Measure involves the counting of the number of lines and stanzas and the number of syllables, and feet or horizontal measure. So for example, four stanzas, there are four stanzas per, or there are four lines per stanzas. So, ganun na talaga ang kanyang pagkasunod-sunod. So, most likely, four lines na siya per stanzas, all of it. So, that is what we call measure. We also have the vertical measure. So when we say vertical measure, okay, when we say vertical measure, poems and stanzas are classified according to the number of lines. When a stanza or a poem has two lines, it is called a couplet or three lines, a triplet or the three lines rhyme, and so forth. We also have the horizontal measure. So when we say horizontal measure, lines are described according to the number of syllables. So sa vertical measure, ano talaga siya, vertically aligned. So the poems and stanzas, meron siyang number of lines. So meaning, pag 4 lines siya, so it would be 4 lines stanzas. So lahat ng stanzas are 4 lines. We also have 2 lines. So all the stanzas or poem are 2 lines. So that is for vertical measure. While sa horizontal measure, there are a number or marami siyang category. The number of syllables. So first is a line with one syllabic or described as monosyllabic. So first niya, we have a line with one syllable. So kung one syllable lang siya, well, that is what we call monosyllabic. If it is two syllables, it is called disyllabic. If it has three syllables, it has uh, trisyllabic. And with four syllables, we have tetrasyllabic. And with five syllables, we have pentasyllabic. Now, let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's clear them. And let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about rhythm. Okay. So another one also of the lines or the syllabication or the horizontal measure, it also have the according to feet. So when lines are measured according to the number of feet or meters, they are classified as follows. So we have a line with 1 foot or kung 1 foot siya, we have monometer. Kung 2 feet, we have diameter. With 3 feet, we have trimeter. With 4 feet, we have tetrameter. With 5 feet, we have pentameter. And with 6 feet, we have hexameter. Now let's go to rhythm. So when we say rhythm, it is the regular succession of unaccented and unaccented syllables with a line. It is associated with the metrical feet, which are classified as follows. So ito yung classification ni rhythm. Okay, so the first one is lamb. So turn your modules in page number 13. So when we say lamb, so it means that a foot with an unstressed syllable followed a stressed syllable is what we call lamb. Okay? So meaning, dapat magka-rhyme si foot at saka yung stress na syllable. So that is what we call lamb. So always remember that in poetry, it is very important to have a rhythm. Okay, so we also have anapest. So anapest is a foot with two unstressed syllables. So meaning, yung last words nila hindi sila magka-rhyme. So followed by stressed syllables. So anapest, a foot with two unstressed syllables, and then followed by stressed syllable. So yung si anapest, pwede din like magka-partner yung first at saka second line. Then third at saka fourth line. Then yung magka-rhyme is si second line lang at saka si fourth line. So that is for anapest. So now let's go to trochy. So when we say trochy, a foot with stressed syllable followed by unstressed syllable. So si trochy is pwede din siya na a foot with a stressed syllable. So meaning, yun yung binigyan mo ng diin and then followed by unstressed syllable. So bigyan diin yung first line or yung first syllable and then yung next na naman na syllable is hindi. So that is what we call trochy. So when we also have dactyl, a foot with stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables. So sa dactyl, pwede din siyang ganito. So ang isa is stressed syllable siya. And then, ang following line niya is two unstressed syllables. Okay? So meaning, ang end ng word niya, stressed syllable yung isa, yung dalawa hindi. That is for dactyl. We also have spondy, a foot with two stressed syllables. So, spondy yung tawag kapag yung foot ng dalawang lines are being stressed or the two syllables are being stressed, meaning binigyang diin. Next is parrot foot. So what is a parrot foot? When we say a parrot foot, food with two unstressed syllables, meaning yung mga last words niya or even the syllables are not stressed. So meaning, hindi siya binigyang diin, just the lower pababa lang ang iyahang igo sa pagbasa sa poetry. So here in rhyme, it is also a presence of words that have similar or identical final words. Okay? So always remember guys that in making a poetry, so meron siyang kanya-kanyang style. Pwede lamp, pwede anapest, pwede trochee, pwede dactyl, pwede spondy, pwede peric foot. So depende sa style ng author. Or if you would be, or if you would like an author someday, so, hindi ibig sabihin na foam na siya, lahat talaga magka-rhyme. So, we have different kinds. Pwede siyang iba-iba yung rhymes niya. Now, let's go to the next one. So, let's have the elements, okay? Elements of story. So, we have here setting. So, since most of the prose, now let's go to the prose na. Are narrative. So the succeeding elements pertain to narrative prose. So take note guys that yung prose natin is most likely daw narrative yung pagkasulat niya. So that's why here now is the elements of the prose or the elements of the story, because story is a genre under the prose. So when we say setting, it refers to the time and locale of the story. Okay, settings, time, and locale of the story. When we say characters, characters are categorized into principal and supporting characters. So, meaning the principal characters are the protagonists and the primary antagonists, whereas the supporting characters are the supporting antagonists, whereas the supporting characters are the supporting antagonists. Confidence, foil, and background characters, they are all characters. Now, let's have protagonist. So for protagonist, to protagonist or the hero is the main character around whom the story revolves. In the fairy tale titled Cinderella, the protagonist is Cinderella. So when we say protagonist, ito yung mga nagdala or kanang bida. Okay, they are the hero and the main character of the story. So just like Cinderella, so Cinderella ang protagonist sa story. We also have antagonists, si kontrabida. So the antagonist or is the villain is the main of the supporting character who opposes the protagonist. Although supporting character siya, main din siya, pero nag-oppose siya sa main character or what we called kontrabida. Let's have the confident or confidente. So confident or confidente, which is feminine. So confident is male, for confidente it's feminine, is the supporting character upon whom the protagonist confides. He is the sidekick of the hero. He's a constant companion of the hero and he knows almost everything about the hero. Meaning, ito yung best friend or yung sidekick ng hero, si confident or si confidente if it's female. And then si foil, when we say foil, is the supporting character who serves as a contrast to the hero but does not necessarily oppose him. So meaning yung foil is the supporting character. Mga supporting characters sila. Yung trabaho nila is to contrast to the hero. So, to contrast the hero. Pero, hindi talaga sila yung main na kontrabida. Nag-contrast lang sila. Like, for example, ano, in a school setting, kay merong isang hero and then his classmate na dili ganahan sa iyaha, maulan to sila ang mga supporting character which is called foil. Next is the background character. So when we say background character, guys, it's the background character are those characters who provide reality to the story by their mere presence. For example, in Cinderella, they are the people who attended the ball sponsored by the prince. So when we say background characters, yun yung mga supporting characters na makikita mo sa mga highlights ng story. Like for example, sa story daw ng Cinderella, yung mga sumasayaw kasama nila at yung mga tao na umattend sa ball, yun yung mga background character. But the spotlight is in Cinderella and the Prince. So we also have the unseen character. Yeah, marami ito sa lalo na sa story. We also have the unseen character. The unseen character is an absent character who even in his absence affects the development of the story. So like for example, namatay na papa at mama dahil sa ginawa nila, uh, the bida or the protagonist is suffering, so they are what we call the unseen character. So even though they are not seen in the story, ano pa rin, meron pa rin silang major contributions sa development of the story. Now let's go to the next one. So let's go to the next one. So another elements of the story is theme. So when we say theme, guys, hindi yung theme ng mag-propose ng marriage at saka mangligaw. The pwede din. But here in the story or in a prose, the theme is the idea or concept of the author expressed in a concise statement. So meaning, ito yung pinaka-idea at concept ng story or ng prose. Referred to as message of the story, it concretizes the abstract idea the writer wants to impart. So meaning kapag sa climax niya, merong maraming hindi maintindihan. Bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? So, sa theme, doon mo malalaman kung ano talagang message ng story. Next is the plot. Okay, so when we say plot, it's the chronological sequence of events in the story. So step 1 or scene 1, this is what happened in the story. Scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, scene 5. So that is plot. Now, let's go to conflict. So when we say conflict, this one is the motivating or driving force that involves both characters and readers in narrative. And then synonymous with opposition, conflict is classified into social, physical, metaphysical, and internal or personal conflict. So ito talaga yung driving force ng story din. Like the readers and the ano yung tumitingin nito is dito talaga nakafocus sa conflict. So it is the driving force that involves both characters, readers in the narrative. Like kasi yung conflict yun yung isa-solve sa movie or sa story. So that's why it's very interesting, or it should be very interesting. So see, conflict then is categorized or classified into four classification. So we have social, physical, metaphysical, and internal or personal conflict. So when we say social conflict, ito ay nag-i-exist when the protagonist and antagonist are opposed to each other, known as man versus man conflict. So dito sa social conflict, ito na yung sa talaga, protagonist and the antagonist na conflict nila. So yung opposition nila dito na makikita sa social conflict. When we say physical conflict, physical conflict means occurs when the protagonist struggles against physical forces such as natural calamities, illnesses, and the like, known as man versus man nature conflict. So dito sa physical conflict, hindi na ito yung antagonist mo ay hindi na siya tao, kundi physical conflict in it is with the physical forces na yung natural calamities like bagyo, lindol, earthquake, fire, sakit, yung mga diseases like COVID-19 ba or any other diseases. So they are the physical conflict. So ito yung man versus man nature. So next is the metaphysical conflict. So when we say metaphysical conflict, it exists when the protagonist fights supernatural beings such as gods, goddesses, vampires, werewolves, elves, fairies, and the like. So this one is known as man versus supernatural beings. Okay? So when we say metaphysical conflict, it means yung kalaban mo o yung antagonist is a supernatural being. Like for example, gods, goddesses, so vampires, werewolves, elves, fairies, and the like. So kapag ano na siya, man versus supernatural beings or yung mga hindi na kaya ng isang natural na tao, they are called the supernatural beings. So ito na yung magiging meta-physical conflict. Okay? Marami ito, di ba? Just like, what we call this one? Yung avatar, metaphysical conflict, yung mga Greek na mga story, yeah, power. That is all the metaphysical conflict. And the last one is the personal or internal or psychological conflict. Baliw lang. Okay, so personal or internal or psychological conflict occurs when the character experiences a dilemma. The conflict exists within the person, as what Rose encountered in Titanic when she was torn between two lovers, Jack and her fiancé. So dito na si personal or internal or psychological conflict. Nahihirapan ka pumili. For example, we have sa Titanic, si Rose have a personal or internal or psychological conflict kasi nahirapan siyang pumili between his lovers, Jack and her fiancé. So, hindi din gusto naman ni Rose na mamatay yung kanyang fiancé. But she really wants Jack to be alive. But hindi pinalad si Jack. Okay, so that is for personal or internal or psychological conflict. Kalaban mo yung sarili mo or meron kang pinagdadaanan na choices between two good things. That is personal or internal or psychological conflict. Now let's go to the next slide. So let's try to know about fiction. So as I said a while ago, fiction has three categories. So meron siyang realistic, non-realistic, and semi-fiction. So, say fiction good is not real, and therefore authors can use pwede sa makagamit of figurative language to touch readers' imagination. So, unlike sa poetry, it is more structured kasi may structure si poetry. Sa fiction, si poetry then is nag-follow siya proper grammatical pattern and then it should be correct mechanics. While here in fictional work, may incorporate fantastical, so pwede yung katang isip, imaginary ideas from everyday life. So it comprises some important elements. So meron din tong important elements. So for example, we have the plot, exposition, foreshadowing, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So popular example of fiction or literary fiction include James Joyce's novel, A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. We also have Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. So ito yung sikat Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. We also have the example in your copy, which is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. So try to read the summary of that story because we are going to tackle that too and talk about it. So let's go to the next one. So, let's have the nonfiction. So, what is a nonfiction? So, ito yung paborito din ng iba, yung totoo talaga na nangyayari sa isang tao. So, nonfiction is a vast category din. So, meron din siyang subgenres. It could be creative, like a personal essay. So, kailangan totoo talaga siya. Factual, like a scientific paper. It may also use figurative language, pero not unlike poetry or fiction has, sometimes nonfiction may tell a story, so just like an autobiography, or sometimes it may convey information to readers. So other examples of nonfiction include biographies, diaries, memoirs, journals, fantasies, mysteries, and romances. A popular example of nonfiction genre is Michael Pollan's highly celebrated book. So ito talaga yung maraming napapanalo ng mga book. This is The Omnivore's Dilemma, A Natural History of Four Meals. So ito yung nag-account ng eating habits of ano, Americans. So I think meron din siguro tayo, no? Ano sa atin? Hindi siguro omnivores. Yeah, so or maybe an omnivores too. So try to read about this one, the Omniverse Dilemma Reader's Guide, and then uh, I will be tasking some of you to read and share something about it. And then we also have the autobiography of Michael Pollan, the one that I have read to you in the first stage of our topic. So that will be all, guys. So thank you so much. Now let's go to your assessment. Always remember to make your parents proud and see you in a while, citizens. Bye. Have a great day.